Hello.
So it's not just me who can't hear Damien then.
I can hear you. I can't hear Damien.
I would have thought there was a problem with the sound. I can hear you. No, we can't hear you, Damien.
Hi, everyone.
As long as it's at his end and not my end, that's what matters.
I think Alan has volunteered to host tonight.
We can take over. Damien can't control us anymore.
Freedom.
Nothing but Yaris GRMN for the whole evening.
Yes. Oh, don't you start. I've heard that so much. No, we still can't hear you, mate.
No.
Can everyone hear me all right? It's a new mic. I think I've done it right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, got you, Simon.
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hey, Naomi.
Yeah.
Hello. How's it going?
I think I can hear people now. Can people hear me?
Yeah.
Hey!
Plugged it in.
That would have been a bit weird. That would have been weird. I set up my audio and everything, and then I didn't click join with computer audio. So felt like the first hurdle, but great to see. I can still see some more people coming in. So apologies to anyone who was listening to the first 30 seconds live on YouTube of me just mouthing at the camera. But let's do the introductions first, and then I'll pretend that never happened. So Alan, could I have your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Hi there, I'm Alan Bradley. I am a presenter of the Motoring Podcast, and my Twitter handle is at AJP Bradley. That's Bradley.
Great. Hannah, nice to have you back. Can I take your name and your Twitter handle, please?
Yeah, my name's Hannah Gordon, and my Twitter handle is Female Mechanic.
Thank you. Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon Browse, and my Twitter handle is imaginatively at SciBrowse.
Fantastic. Thank you. Near.
Near Kahn, it's near_Kahn.
Fantastic. Thank you. Neil Briscoe.
Hello, Neil M. Briscoe on Twitter, and I'm a freelance journalist.
Fantastic. Thank you. Joe Tanner.
Joe Tanner at Stuff About Cars.
Brilliant. Thank you. Naomi.
At Naomi Panter on Twitter. I'm a motorsport consultant and co-founder of a company called Navigate.
Brilliant. Thank you. Richard.
Hello, I'm Rich Gooding at richgooding.com, and I'm a freelance motoring writer and graphic designer.
Great. And last one on my screen right now is Ian.
Hi, Ian Cook from Pop Band Colour, painter and creative type in the automotive industry.
Lovely image behind you. Who did that one?
I don't know, some bloke used to paint the cars.
Oh yeah, it's a bloke in Coventry.
Some dodgy migrated down the A45 to Coventry. But it is actually signed by like a load of cool people. Went to auction and didn't hit reserve, and I kept, and it's one of my favourite paintings. So,
who's it signed by then?
Bear with, I forget.
On the spot.
There's a load of signatures on there.
Right.
Quentin Wilson, Steve Cropley, Norman Dewis.
Yeah.
Signed it. It was a load. Both Ian Callum and his brother signed it.
Yeah.
And the guy who got the land speed record, what's his name?
Andy
Green.
Andy Green, yeah, Andy Green signed it as well. So
nice.
Excellent. What a great backdrop, because I think last time there was another one of your images, the one that you got Taz for a gift.
Yeah, the Lotus that she thought was going to be a car, and it wasn't. It was an artwork.
Oh dear. Hannah, it's nice to have you back after a few months now since we last had you. How have things been going in your world?
Yeah, not too bad actually. Yeah, I mean the virus wasn't helpful, but it wasn't helpful, I don't think, to a lot of people. So, but we've been doing loads really. The workshop's had quite a bit of work done to it. So we've had new ramp installed. We've just been tidying it up really, doing project work. So I've had my Porsche I've been doing project work on, my MGB, which hasn't even been touched yet, which I need to get around to doing. But it's been so cold in the workshop this week. It's been horrible. So yeah, can't wait for it to get a bit warmer, I have to admit. But yeah, busy, and obviously the cold weather brings out all the problems in the cars. So we've got a lot of dead batteries, and people realise I've got bald tyres and things like that.
So talk a bit more about this Porsche before we move on, because this was a bit of a bold thing to get a Porsche that perhaps most people would have avoided, from what I can make out.
Yeah. So what happened was a customer had a Porsche 996 Carrera 4, came in with gearbox trouble. I think they just got a bit fed up with it. It's quite high mileage, 150,000 mile car. But so I offered a bit of a silly price to the person, and they accepted. So I've currently got a YouTube series going on about it at the moment. So it's basically me going through the journey of buying a Porsche 911 for under $5,000 and the troubles that I've come across. So it's kind of like telling the story of me, what I find underneath it, what I have to do to sort it out, what the gearbox problem was, and other bits like that. But it's now up and running, and it's got a fresh MOT on it, and it's brilliant. Took it out last night, and yeah, I love it.
Oh, brilliant! So your YouTube channel, what do we search for if you want to find that? Is that the Female Mechanic? Or...
Yeah, that's the same name as my Twitter handle. Yeah, Female Mechanic.
Excellent. We'll have a look out for that. Someone's dropped a note in the chat here to say that there's a few grey t-shirts, but Simon, you've left a bit of an intriguing note as a reply to that. So what's yours then, Simon?
Well, in line with our theme later.
Okay. Shall we leave it for now, or shall we?
Not necessarily. The nature and the country of origin, Neil and I were discussing on Twitter at length a little while ago. So Neil, there's a nice Gaz Chaika. That's for you. Delicious. That's an Eastern European car from the 1950s up to the 1980s that we were talking about. Just thought Neil would appreciate that. He's one of the only people that knows what they are thus far. Yeah, but I know everyone here probably does as well.
The only way that could be improved would be if it was a Tatra.
Oh.
Does that lead us on to the hottest hatch of all conversation?
It might do.
Oh dear, I dread to think. Alan, how's things been in the world of podcasting and the world of cars?
Pretty good. Been nice and busy. Actually got to a launch, first time since about February, which I'm sure will get mentioned later, of a certain small car. But yeah, good otherwise. Good. Yeah, loads of stuff stored up really to come out, and including special editions to come out over Christmas and stuff as well. So.
Good to hear. So the usual Tuesday launch for the news show, and then extra
usual Tuesday record, Wednesday morning launch for the news show as ever for the next couple of weeks, and then we'll take a break over Christmas because nobody listens with their family, because that would just be too sad.
Fair enough. So over the other side of the Irish Sea here, Naomi and Neil. Naomi, first of all, how are things going over there?
Fine, yeah, okay. We've just come out of level we have level 5 here. I think it's level 3 in the UK or whatever. But we've just come out of that, which is nice. So we can go outside again and look at the sky. And I went to an actual. I texted you earlier, Damien, because I went to an actual racetrack yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
It was very exciting. Well, a karting track. With a driver that we've just signed, Alex Colby. So we were doing some filming with her, which was cool. So yeah, it was very nice to get out. Tried the old electric car, long haul in the very cold weather, which was challenging but fun. Got home, so that's a good thing. It's been fine.
Good.
We've been very much staying in isolation over here. The numbers are kind of fairly high and stuff, so we're paranoid enough about that. And Tom's asthmatic, so we're being very cautious. But yeah, it's been all good. Thank you. All good. Have a Guinness, very festive Guinness, which is vegan. We've gone vegan. So that's our big news this month. But Guinness is vegan, so that's okay.
That's all the food you need. Before we move on to Neil, then, LA, let's have a bit of a welcome from you. Not sure what's happening with your background there. Is that... It's not quite working properly, but we get the gist, I think. LA, could you let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please?
So I'm LA, and my Twitter handle is @1_LA, which I will change very shortly. And I'm a motorsport journalist for Inside F2.
And a bit of an F1 theme behind you there. If we can see beyond the couch, it keeps flashing up.
It's like my Racing Point thing. But what's going on? I'm change it a few times throughout the meeting because I can.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a bit then. Neil, yeah, I was about to cut to you. How have things been, and how was your son as well? Because we haven't seen him for a while.
Yeah, well, he's made a bit of a left turn. He's dropped Formula One like a hot rock, and he's now a massive football fan. So I literally don't know what to do anymore. Yeah, it's a ball and you kick it. I don't know. What are you going to say? Although I did get him to watch the Sakir Grand Prix last night because obviously that was going to be worth watching. And yeah, we did. It was almost like a repeat of me when I watched the 1997 Hungarian Grand Prix. It was just elation followed by utter depths of despair.
Right.
But yeah, he's good. He's good. Thanks.
Yeah. For those not old enough to remember '97, and Craig's not here to point it out. I guess you're a Damon Hill fan, were you then? And
always was, still am.
Yeah, so one to Google for anyone who's not sure what that one was all about. An incredible race, that one. Nia, how's it? Yeah, already of us. Nia, how are things over there?
All good. Getting on with the usual stuff that I can't talk about. Talking to car companies about composites and preparing all kinds of other stuff. A brief moment of excitement this week when we thought that maybe Roy Nissany would get the Williams drive, and I had a frantic couple of phone calls, calling in contacts, trying to see if I could get over to Bahrain, but then very quickly realised he doesn't have a super license, and that wasn't going to happen anyway.
Right, fair enough. It's a shame you can't tell us more about what you do, but I'm hoping it'll drip feed through the year, and we'll go. That's one of the things that Nia was teasing us about.
Yeah, so one of these months you're going to ask me what I've been doing, and I'm going to be like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Right now,
you'll be in some sort of amazing vehicle, broadcasting live. Talking of which, Richard, a few times in the past you've been broadcasting from inside a car. How are things going in the world of car journalism and car testing?
Well, I think I've not had any for a while. I think the last time we spoke, I think a Zoe van had just arrived. That was only here for a couple of days, and that was quite interesting. But cogs are starting to turn again. I had a few. I think I preemptively cancelled a couple because their restrictions weren't going to come in, so there was no point having a car if you can't go anywhere. So I'll reschedule those. I think probably now for after Christmas. But I've just done some stuff on which Naomi helped with, actually, some stuff on EV components in motorsport. I've written about a record-breaking electric bike this last weekend, and I'm doing some stuff for Autovolt magazine this week. So cogs are starting to turn again, which is good.
Good. And talking of EVs, another EV owner here, Joe. How have things been going for you? We've obviously just had a lot of local news here in the east of England about the new style of charging station, which has a Costa coffee, and it's like this revelation.
That's very nice.
How are you? Is it? I think was it just you out of these guys that was there today? Have you been there today?
No, I went there in September before it was open.
Right.
So I've not been there since it's opened, but it's quite an impressive place.
Yeah, I'm looking around now, trying to think who might get the local news for the east of England. And when they cut to this taxi driver charging his car and said, "Would you recommend getting an electric car?" And he just paused for ages, and then he went, "Yeah." I think it kind of backfired on the whole piece, but never mind. So Joe, how are things going in the world of electric motoring?
Well, actually, I'd rather talk about one of my other cars, which is the one on the wall up here, immortalised forever by a certain Ian Cook, because I've just got it back a week or two ago from having its bodywork done. It's been off the road all year, so not a bad year to have it off the road, given very few car shows and so on. But it's had a few new panels and new glass and fresh coat of paint, and looking rather good. But obviously can't get it out until the spring. So
what car is that for people who aren't familiar with the backstory?
1968 Pontiac Firebird, ex-fellow ZoomZoomer. Used to belong to Lewis Kingston, but I've had it for 6 or 7 years now. Massive V8 engine, 6.6 litre, 450 horsepower. but the body
Well,
was
this-
very tatty. So we've had that. all
Tends to
sorted
be
out.
the theme, I think, with a lot of people who have now American muscle cars. We had Johnny Smith on the last ZoomZoomers, who's a big fan of Detroit muscle, but also a fan of electric cars. And it's we're definitely seeing this split. And there's been a lot of chat about, will new regulations mean the demise of petrol and diesel? But actually, it's going to become more of a nice pastime for people, and the same way as the comparison that I thought was great was I spoke to Otis from the Gadget Show, and he said in the same way that LPs, there'll always be a place for them because they're just that purity. And although people will happily have Spotify and iPads with thousands of songs on, they still love to have a record. And I think this is perhaps how it's going to be, isn't it? It's going to be that these petrol or perhaps even diesel engine cars are going to become a bit of a connoisseur's choice and a nice plaything. Simon, I know that's going to be a big thing for you, that hopefully you can tap into when people are yearning for that that big engine again, and you've got a nice car from the 50, 60, 70 sat there for them to enjoy a day out in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all it's means for purpose, isn't it? EVs are unquestionably the best way to get from A to B, both if you can afford to buy a brand new one, both on a daily basis and for even longer journeys now. Petrol, diesel and internal combustion engine will become a enthusiasts sort of type media, for want of another word, but the transition is going to be over a longer period of time than people think. There's lots of scares and it's all going to end in 10 years time. It won't. It's going to take a long time. It'll neither be phased in nor phased out. But yeah, it's a really exciting time, actually. It's an exciting time for manufacturers to push some more boundaries. I think they've probably had it quite easy over the last 30, 40 years. It's basically been a bit of design change here, there, and I'm sure Nia will probably elaborate more on that. They haven't really had to be challenged. So I think it's good that large OEMs are having the opportunity to show us what's possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think Nia alluded to some really cool projects he's got with a separate unit that can pull or push another unit, and it'd be really interesting. But I'll just going to speak to Hannah for a second, because Hannah, how have you seen the transition from combustion engines vehicles to electric engines on the ground now with people? Are you seeing more and more people coming to a garage with electric vehicles, and how are you able to deal with that? Have you had to go through a lot of extra training? Have your staff had to kind of do a lot of research about electric cars, or are they just cars and people still need tires and they still need the usual things?
Yeah, I mean, we've had hybrids around for a long time now. I think the Prius came in 99, 2000, something like that, or early 2000s, and they still have the suspension, they still have the brakes, they're still very much a car. It's just that you have the electric part of that. And in the last few years, we haven't really had to deal too much with the electric side of it, because there's not much to do. With these electric cars coming through, they don't obviously need oil changes, they've not got as many moving parts. So it's actually going to make potentially the mechanic's job a little bit easier, because there isn't all the stuff that does go wrong sometimes on a mechanical internal combustion engine. So as much as there's still the brakes and the suspension, and we can touch everything that's not associated with the large batteries and the big orange wires that go through the car, it's an exciting time, but it's also time for, I think, workshops to really diversify, and I think a lot won't want to. The independents and things like that, it's there's a lot of people who still work in the independent car industry that are stuck in their times, really, and I think they're going to really struggle to then move across to the future and where electric cars are going. And it's going to be a bit of a survival of the fittest. I'm a huge classic car fan. I'd rather work on classic cars than the new stuff. So I mean, but the technology on electric vehicles is getting better, and people are actually moving all that technology now over to classic cars too. So it's going to be a huge range of just, cars that look old but got modern technology, and then you're going to want purists that want the old engines with the old styles. So it's a really exciting time, I think, for the car industry.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to think that these conversions are happening, and the cars that you may think, oh, can he beat that off the line? It may now have a super electric power plant underneath it and doesn't make any noise and just disappears into the distance. So that'd be interesting to see how that transition happens over the next few years, because there are kits throwing up now. You know, there are people producing batteries and power plants, and it's really interesting to see that moving quite quickly. I mean, it wasn't too long ago, I don't think, a few years ago, when it was, I wonder if people will do a lot of this electric car conversion. And it was a bit of big news if you saw that a classic car had been converted. But a couple of years on, and it's now, well, a lot of people have perhaps been converted in their thinking. So it'd be really, really interesting to see how that goes.
Interesting news story actually last week, guys, about what Renault were doing with converting one of their factories from making cars, and in actual fact making the Zoe, to becoming they're calling it a refactory. So they're basically stripping down EVs and refurbishing the motors and the batteries and all these kind of things, and turning it into a massive recycling site. And the reason that comes to mind is because, you know, many of these conversions need secondhand batteries, and so in actual fact they'll be coming out of existing cars, and Renault are trying to enable that both for their own vehicles, and I would imagine they're going to sell them on crate-wise as well. So it's kind of interesting to see that the manufacturers are maybe starting to get into the edges of that and providing sort of crate components and that kind of thing.
I think that's one of the interesting things about EVs is when you actually start to look at what makes up a battery. They're actually really incredibly simple, and you don't actually really get to see that. There's a really good fully charged actually, where they look at car batteries and look at how simple it is as kind of almost like stacked AA batteries. It's fascinating when you see them in physically, which very few people get a chance to do. Actually, talking conversion, I went to New Electric Ireland and saw them working on the batteries, and it's for their conversion projects, and it's amazing. It suddenly clicks in your mind how rudimentary effectively it is, whereas my car outside I think of as this like machine, I don't know how to work it, like, you know, mechanically, but actually it is, you are still just sticking fairly simple things together.
Yeah, I saw a video that Johnny Smith had done with a tour of the Swindon factory. Swindon Powertrain obviously bringing out a lot of these conversions at the moment, and the battery pack designed to fit into a classic Mini, when they zoomed in, it was rows and rows, like cells of in a battery, in the actual sense of cells being in a battery. So yeah, really, really interested to see that all this great secret technology that's sat in the floor of these cars is not that secret anyway. But yeah, great to see. And so Neil, you can tell us a lot about what you're doing, but of course, you know, is it going to be? I think we spoke about this in the past. Is it going to be a lot of electrics in the future, or do you still need to be able to chuck in some fuel if you're out in the middle of a desert?
If you're talking about the military stuff, it's going to be a while before there's pure electric for any reasonable vehicles. But electrification is certainly happening, and hybrids. There's a lot of advantages for that silent drive that you can get. I mean, it's all relative, of course, but yeah, that relative silent drive you get. And I think I said last time as well, in any case, they need a lot of exportable power, so they need a lot of electricity. And so it kind of makes sense to start driving the vehicle with it. The question then, the sticking point is the batteries themselves. So pure battery electric is probably not going to happen very quickly in that field. But certainly hybrids and just other forms of energy storage. You can use, when you do have something with a big battery in it, you can use that to power other stuff. That's the point. You can power an entire base off of it, and that's all really useful stuff. But as I say, that the fact that you can't take a jerry can of electricity down into the desert is a bit of a problem.
I was thinking about this today because I was thinking, because Neil, you mentioned this before, that the military application is not quite there yet, and I've been trying to think about what will be the last bastion of of traditional powertrains, and I wondered if it would be low volume supercars and hypercars, or whether it's something else. Because I was trying to think when that shift will be made, because the people who can afford them will still be able to afford them, and the interest will still be there from a passion point of view.
I'm not sure it will be those low volume, because I think legislation will prevent that. I mean, people will still be using the old ones and putting, not loads of miles, putting whatever mileage they were putting on them anyway, like a couple 100 miles a year, maybe 1,000 miles a year. In terms of new cars, not so sure that is going to be the last hold off. I think it's more likely to be long haul stuff. I've said for a while, battery electric, I'm pretty convinced now that battery electric is going to replace most petrol engined cars. But in long haul trucks, buses, coaches, that kind of stuff, it's more likely to be fuel cell or something else like that, because that can give you the range. But as I say, if you're going, that's fine for long haul, across Europe, but it's not going to get you across a desert. It's not going to get you across some wilderness somewhere, out trekking in the Arctic or something. Those kind of places, there's really still no alternative for the energy density that you get from a liquid fossil fuel.
In terms of, sorry, this is a super nerdy question. In terms of relative weight to the energy you get, is it more efficient to carry fuel and then put it into your car, your vehicle, than it is to carry a charged battery and put it into your vehicle?
Yeah, in terms of energy density, certainly. It's very hard to match the energy density of petrol, even though the engine itself is not particularly efficient in the big scale of things. You just need to compare the weight of an engine and a gearbox and the fuel to travel 500 miles compared to the weight of the motor is not the heavy part, but the battery weighs, for the same range, weighs way more than the rest of the stuff does. That doesn't necessarily mean it's less efficient. It just means it's less weight efficient.
Cool.
We'll probably come back onto electricity in motoring, and it's specifically in motorsport when we have the guest on, because we announced earlier today that Hazel Southwell will be coming along, and of course she knows all about electricity and motorsport. But before we get her along in probably in about 5-10 minutes time, I did threaten you guys with a pop quiz, and so I might as well. What we're going to do, we're going to use the red green method. So later on, Naomi will do the quickfire one, but we'll use red and green to go through a series of quiz questions, and I'll essentially ask you, is this higher or lower than this, or is it this one or this one? And we'll just do this as a 10-question quiz, because we haven't had a quiz for a while, and I think people watching along enjoy the quizzes. So it's a fantastic helmet you've got there, LA. Pair of helmets. I think they were originally designed for Neil, weren't they? Because they're aftershaves. Yeah. But we'll go through 10 questions. Some are motorsport, some aren't motorsport. So hopefully it's a few for each of you. But hold up green for one answer, red for the other. I'll make it clear which is which when we're going through. But I'm going to have to ask you guys to just keep a mental note of how many you've got right. And of course, you can't lie because it is recorded, and we could go through and check. So I'm going to rely on you to be honest. Have you all got a red and a green in front of you then? I think most of you are waving them at me. Excellent. Very Christmassy, Hannah. Like it. Okay. Question number 1. This one, I think this has got Alan written all over this first one. So it's either a yes or no. So so green is yes, as you'd probably expect, and red is no. Okay. First question. The Vauxhall Corsa, from what I can make out, was the best-selling car in November in the UK. Did it sell new registrations? Was there higher than 2,000 sales? So yes, if there was more than 2,000. Everyone's going to wait for Alan on this one, aren't they? Alan, just out of curiosity, do you know roughly how many it sold?
No, because I haven't looked yet. And it's the number that were registered and not the number that was sold.
Yeah, of course.
So I feel actually obliged to correct you on that. It is new car registrations that the SMMT publish. No, because I haven't looked yet. I would imagine mostly in lockdown, so numbers were down quite heavily. I'm gonna say it's about 5,000 or something.
Okay, I'll ask Joe whether he just happens to know about how many courses were registered.
I should know this number, but I don't, because I have far too many numbers flying around my head. But yeah, I track that sort of thing daily, not monthly, because
of course,
that's the job.
Well, the SMMT said it was over 2,000. Alan, you'll be pleased to know you led them all correctly there. They say 3,718, so not quite the 5,000, but certainly over 2,000. So brilliant. If you went green on that one, you get yourself a point. Okay, question number 2. The length of the original Mini, the Mark 1, the one that had about 1,000 names in the very late 50s, early 60s, was the length higher than 3.5 meters, or longer than 3.5 meters? So green if it was longer, red if it was shorter than 3.5 meters. Got lots of red so far. Alan's not committed quite yet. Red. You're all correct. You're all correct. It was very close to 3 meters. It wasn't even anywhere near 3.5 meters. Well done on that one. Okay, question number 3. According to Top Gear's hot laps, Stig driving the fast cars, which of these two is faster? Vote green. These were both dry laps. Vote green for the Caterham R400. Vote red for the Aston Martin DB11. Green Caterham, red Aston. Is that 100% incorrect? I see there. Believe it or not, the Aston was 3.5 seconds quicker. The Caterham staggered around in 1 minute 25, and the Aston did it at 1:21.5. There we go. Sorry, you've all failed on that one. Okay.
Was the stopwatch broken?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it was a different Stig. They had a few.
Donald Trump driving it.
Shit Stig.
Maybe the Stig was broken.
Was I the Stig that day?
No, that was my day to be the Stig. That's why it was quite so slow.
No, because it wasn't a Yaris, so it couldn't.
Oh, right, yeah, fair enough.
I was going to do something that was quite close together in lap time, but 3.5 seconds is actually a decent gap, and it's quite surprising when you think these Caterhams are super quick. They just feel incredibly super quick, and they are super quick off the line. But they're obviously, the Aston DB11 is quite happy going up to 200. So there we go. So 3.5 seconds quicker for the Aston. Okay, question number 4. This is a motorsport one. There's not many motorsport people on the line, but maybe LA might get this one. Who won more F1 races? Vote green for Jenson Button and vote red for Rubens Barrichello. Got a mix. We have a mix. If you voted green for Jenson Button, you were correct. Jenson won 15 Formula One Grand Prix and Rubens only won 11. There you go.
Yeah, he signed his life away, didn't he, to not win them? And one of them really. He shouldn't even have 12.
He still wouldn't have been enough to beat Jensen. There we go. Jensen 15.
I think we need to get Jean Todt in to discuss that one.
Hang on, and we've got him somewhere down here.
Do you recognise this voice?
But he's not in France.
I think was that Mini longer than Jean Todt.
Exactly. Really
Okay, question.
Very small. Sorry.
Question 5 before we get Hazel in. Come on. Question 5. There's 10 of these. Okay. So the land speed record in 1950, was it higher, green, or lower, red, than 400 miles an hour? 1950. Green for higher, red for lower. Okay, it was red for lower. It was 394 miles an hour. That was a tricky one. It didn't hit 400 quite a while later, but in the 60s. So there we go. Okay, next one. The longest jump in a rally car by Travis Pastrana on the 31st of December 2009. Was it higher, so green, or more for green than 50 meters? Red for less than 50 meters, green for more than 50 meters. The longest jump in a rally car.
Successful jump. I mean, he landed on his wheels.
Yeah, he landed it. He got out and cheered and did a backflip, I think.
Less. Is that less?
Okay, it was higher. It was 81.99 meters. I know. He jumped onto a boat. So yeah. Next one. Okay. Bit of a one for the motorsport people again. Is the length of the Le Mans circuit, La Sarthe circuit, the current one that the Le Mans they use for Le Mans, is it more, so green, or less than 10 miles? More than 10 miles is green, less than 10 miles is red. I'll just wait for Ian and Simon.
All right.
Okay, it's more. No, it's not. It's not. It's not. It's less. It's less. It's 8.469 miles. Sorry, it's less. There we go. I hope you're able to keep
Can we have that
numbers
in
in your head
kilometres,
for how many
please?
you're getting right.
Yes.
3 questions to go before we let Hazel in. Okay. In 1996, the IndyCar or the Indy 500 lap record was set in practice for 1996 race. Was the average speed of the fastest lap in practice higher, green, than 230 mile an hour, or lower, red, than 230 mile an hour? Average speed in practice for the 96. It was higher. It was 239 miles an hour that he did in 1996. Green. Number 9. Okay. This one's going to be tricky if you don't live in the UK. I'm sorry, guys. You just have to guess. What was the most recent year that the average petrol price in the UK was less than £1 a litre? Was it before or after 2012? So before would be red, after would be green. Before 2012 is red, after is green. Okay, it was before. 2009 was the last time that petrol was less than £1. So before was red. Okay, last question before we let Hazel in. Bless her, she's sat there now. The highest price paid for a single car at auction this year, 2020, was it higher? Was it, so green if you think higher, than $10 million? Or was it red for lower than $10 million for one single car at auction this year?
Sorry, which colour is which again? Sorry.
Sorry, green for higher than $10 million, red for lower than $10 million. Green. The answer is green. 12.6 million, or nearly $12.7 million. There we go. How did we all do? Shout out your scores. You don't know.
Boring. I didn't.
Neil, did you get 8?
I even got the UK question right, in spite of not living in the UK until 2014. There you go.
Alan, did you get 9?
I got 9, yeah.
Did anyone beat 9?
How many questions were there?
There were 10, Ali.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, I think I got about 4 wrong.
Oh, okay. Not to worry. Well done, Alan. Very good. Good knowledge there.
Right, I should go back in my box now.
Excellent. I'm just going to let the guest in. So if you could give her a warm welcome. Hopefully we haven't kept her too long and she's wandered off. We can see Hazel now. Hazel, can you hear us okay?
I can, yes.
Excellent. For people who are just joining us or people who haven't heard of Hazel Southwell before, could you let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please?
I
just said your name, but
yeah. I'm Hazel Southwell. My Twitter handle is at HSouthwellFE.
Excellent. I just see Naomi's getting very excited there with a little wave because she was quite keen for us to invite you along for today. If you just let people know what you've been up to for the last few weeks, because I believe Formula E has been testing again.
Yes. So after a really long time, Formula E are heading into season 7. It feels like season 6 was, well, no, factually season 6 was a very, very weird season. And yeah, season 7 is now kicking off. We all went to Valencia. There were 3 days of actual race cars on an actual race track. And I kind of believe it's coming back. We're going to make it to Santiago. So yeah.
How long is it till Santiago now?
It's actually a really short time. I leave on January the 14th. So
okay. And how long is the season this year? Is it going all the way into the summer and or beyond the summer?
We don't know.
Okay.
So a bit like when F1 started their season this year, they didn't know when it was going to end. We have 4 races confirmed at 2 places. So we've got Santiago in mid-January and then Riyadh in mid-Feb. Oh, having a romantic trip to Riyadh. I think it's around Valentine's Day. And they're both double headers, but we don't have, so rather than announce races and risk that they will be changed or not confirmed or have people book travel because or try and arrange things around them, Formula E decided it was better to, and especially because it's city locations, so you could cause potential disruption to infrastructure or whatever. Formula E decided that it's better to announce it in tranches. So we've got those 4 races confirmed, and then I don't know if I'm allowed to say the date, but early January is like there'll be more that are announced. So we will get more of a season, but it's just going to come out in 3 waves. Wow, it's really hard to talk tonight. This is going to be good.
Yeah, we're all the same. We're all the same. Honestly, we just have to get a few beers in us. Have you got a drink there with you, Hazel?
I have a cup of coffee. So
a cup of coffee,
because I was up till 4 a.m. Transcribing last night. So
oh blimey! Well, thanks for joining us then. If you've been up until 4 a.m., bless you. Any kind of standout things from the test? Anyone who did particularly well or poorly?
It's really hard to say, to be honest, because the track means nothing. So anyone who follows Formula E, the 2 Dragon cars were the 2nd and 3rd fastest on track, allegedly, which like we know that they are not the 2nd and 3rd fastest cars in Formula E. But for instance, the team that are title sponsored by Neo 333, they're not actually powered by Neo anymore. They had a much better testing than last year. It would be hard to have a worse testing than last year, in that the whole team had collapsed 2 months prior, and they were kind of astonished that they'd got a car together that was running. But they put in a lot of miles. They didn't look to be having mechanical issues. Operationally, they're in a much better place. Likewise, Vonchery really hit the ground running. They're a customer team, so that's the only testing they'll get. Previously, some manufacturers have let their customers borrow testing days prior to the season. But obviously with COVID, that's kind of not a thing. So they needed to get a lot of mileage in, so they did. A couple of teams had sort of slightly disrupted running in terms of like a few mechanical gremlins. Hopefully that means that they don't have problems when they get to the racetrack. Probably the biggest kind of bombshell dropped was when Audi pulled out of Formula E at the end of the season. So for them, quite an unsuccessful test in some sense.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, as we do with all our guests here, we know you well for Formula E. I'm going to test your knowledge of road cars in a second by doing.
Hang on a minute, I haven't got me red and green.
You won't need that just. You won't need that just yet.
Right.
We'll do that in a little while. But what we do with our guests, first of all, I'm not sure if you've ever seen one of these at ZoomZoomers, but we have a track day owned scrap wheel, and what we'll do is spin that 3 times, and you'll get 3 cars pop up. And from those 3 cars, you'll have to decide which one you want to take on a track day, which one you'd want to own, and which one you're going to scrap. So if I can attempt a screen share, so everybody bear with me just for a moment. And if you could just give me a nod or a shout when you see the track day owned scrap wheel.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so there are quite a lot of small cars on there, small pictures of cars, but when I spin it, they will become bigger. So I'm going to do this 3 times for you and see what we get. I'll shout them out when they come up, just in case you can't see them. Okay, Hazel, your first one is it's an old red Corvette. So that's the first one you've got to decide between. So I'll remove that and spin it 2 more times for you. So I've got the Corvette. The next one. Okay, the next one's Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6, the Mackinnon edition. And your third car to choose between is the Renault Sport Spider. So track day 1, own one, and the other one's got to go in the bin. What do you reckon? You've got the Corvette, the Evo, and the Renault Sport Spider.
I'm going to own the Corvette.
Okay.
Because I can take the engine out, put a powertrain in, and have a very cool looking EV. I'm going to scrap the Spider, and I'm going to take the Mitsubishi on a track day, because I actually did take one of those on a track day once, and it was very fun.
Oh, good. I did a rally experience in one, which wasn't that good because they didn't really want you to damage the car, and it's hard to do a rally experience properly when they're just really worried about it. So if you had the Evo, the Lancer Evo on a track, would you want that 2-litre turbo engine, or would you prefer to have an EV version?
Oh, that's a good question. EVs, sadly, one of the things that they definitely are not massively good at is track days, because you do have to take a charging break in the middle.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It feels a bit like it would be ahistorical or kind of
I kind of get
it
you.
feels a bit wrong to do that to the Evo. Like it should. I'm very unmoved by engine noise, obviously, but yeah, kind of feels like that's part of the fun with it.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Yeah. On a track day, like you say, it's going to be interesting to see how people cope with this, because there's going to be a track day crowd out there who want to still drive very fast cars, and Teslas will occasionally go and do track days.
But the internally combustion engine cars are not just going to disappear. People aren't going to come and steal them off our driveways. And it just sorry. I've heard that so many times lately. It's been driving me mad.
We weren't implying that was going to happen. We were just considering
I
whether.
know, but
I thought that in 2030 they were just going to kind of dissolve.
Yeah, that's it. It's just.
If we all follow Simon's lead and buy Chaikas, then people will be too frightened of us to take them away.
Yeah, Boris is going to come knocking. He's going to rob my garage. They're all going. All the rollers, all the Cadillacs are all going.
Which one, Johnson or Yeltsin?
Nice.
Yeltsin won't get off the plane.
I'm kind of intrigued by the idea that taking the engine out of the Mitsubishi is wrong, but it's okay to do it with the Corvette, and I agree. I think it's my instinct would be you have to have the V8 in the Corvette, and the Mitsubishi you could get away with turning electric. But I think you're right. The historic, the Mitsubishi is a rally car, and that's the way that it should have been and always was. Whereas the idea of an electric Corvette Stingray is actually really intriguing to me.
Well, that's because were they not a little bit strangled? I'm looking at Sai here, who's going to give me the evils in a minute. But
the California Air Resources Board put a bunch of wet socks up the exhaust or something.
That's the challenge that the Corvette has, really, isn't it?
Among many.
That reputation.
It's a good job Lewis isn't here to defend the Corvettes.
Lewis was a later Corvette, though, so it's okay.
It was.
To be fair, some of my logic was that the Corvette has better aero, so it'd adapt much better, whereas the Mitsubishi is all about that blunt power. So, although EVs aren't underpowered, it probably wouldn't convert very well.
Good point. There you go. I can see in the future more Corvettes being converted than Evos, definitely. For some reason, like you say, it just doesn't seem to fit, does it? So, which is a strange one, because it's quite a technological car, isn't it? It's all about the computers, and it's interesting to know. Now, you said there, Hazel, that you had got some red green somewhere, but not necessarily to hand at the moment. And I think the duty this month is in is Naomi's. So hopefully, Naomi, you've got a series of red green questions. I know LA was poised ready just in case you didn't to quickly whip a few up. But if you've got it covered, Naomi, I think we're okay. We'll just wait for Hazel to come back. Oh, I've got to get a red and green because I'm, I guess, taking part in this one.
At last, Damien, we get to see what your opinion is. So I'm in slightly odd position in that my very poor rural Irish Wi-Fi means that I've got most people frozen. So I won't know what the answers are. So Damien, you'll have to give me like a sense of the room.
I'll shout out. Yeah, I'll shout out. And of course, I'm sure you watch it back 3 or 4 times after we've recorded anyway, don't you?
Of course I do.
Every day.
Gotta get those views up.
Yeah.
They ordered a transcript.
I've got pink. Is that going to be okay? It's red enough, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, from my side, I've got no idea.
Oh, okay. I'll take my word for it.
My cleaner knocked the V cross Rich gave me down the back of my drawers in here off the shelf.
You have a cleaner?
So
No.
So I've had to unwrap. First time ever the box has been taken apart for an MX-5 this week.
Nice. Hazel, what have you got there? You've got some
Oh,
models
Lego.
as well. Nice.
Yeah,
that the
I
Jag?
thought, so I don't have very many green or red things, it turns out. But so I had to use an iPace and race feeder. So
Okay.
looking like by far the most grown out person here, I feel.
Oh, we've had all sorts. Yeah. Okay, Naomi, it's up to you.
Right, strap in. So, there's a few Christmassy themed ones in here because I can't help it. So there is at least one car themed holiday ornament in my house right now.
Oh.
I had a Volkswagen bus Christmas ornament, but it got broken last year.
It's always the way. We've got one, but it's heavy as hell, so it's the first thing to come off the tree every year. Nearly killed the cat.
Well, that one was about 50-50 on Naomi, so it was a
Okay,
nice
cool.
split, that one.
American sports cars are wildly underrated in Europe.
Simon's very passionately pointing at his green car there. Again, we've got a nice mix again.
Mustang is awesome.
Okay, the next daily car I buy will be electric.
Ooh, I think so. I'm not
going
sure.
back.
I keep saying that the next one will be electric, but I think if my car did something really bad right now, I would still go petrol or diesel.
Is that
So,
like me or you though, Naomi? Like the next
I meaning you, yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
No. It's a nice mix again. Nice mix again.
I'm with you, Joe. I wouldn't go back. Okay, receiving a Christmas stocking as an adult is totally acceptable.
Yeah.
Good. Correct answer.
Oh, Joe's gone red. Joe, get back in your cave.
He's just
Looking at all my
about,
favours from Naomi.
he's just about to get 12 Christmas stockings now for Christmas.
Okay, next one. Debadging cars is cool.
What?
All right.
Right. There's a few greens. Hannah, Near, Joe, and Hazel have gone green on that one.
I thought that'd be more green. Okay, cool. There is no point for learner drivers to learn to drive a manual anymore.
Ooh. So
that's
red
heresy.
To disagree.
In the
That's
bizarre
awful.
world where new drivers can afford a new car that might be automatic, obviously.
you can have a manual gearbox on an electric car if you really try.
Absolutely, yes. There is a sort of asterisk next to that, but yeah, you can see what I'm implying.
Yeah. But Near and Hazel have gone green on that one.
Just to be a little bit awkward, I'm not sure. It's not that there's no point, but I think that for most people, there's no point.
Right. The first drink on Christmas morning this year will be alcoholic. Good.
Most mornings, Naomi, just every morning.
I'll be at work. Mine will be a coffee.
Oh, actually,
dear.
I'm at work as well. Yeah.
Just give it to the day drinking people.
Alan, good little boy.
No, I have my sister and brother-in-laws, and they're not nearly that generous.
So just take a flask, slip it in your coffee.
It's all right. I've already ordered all the wine. Yeah.
Okay, so in the North Pole, I think Santa would drive a Land Rover rather than a Land Cruiser. This is mostly for Neil Briscoe.
I mean, it pains me to say it, but no, he'd have the Cruiser, definitely.
Can you imagine if Christmas didn't happen because he couldn't start his Land Rover?
The bloody Discovery's popped a gearbox again.
There's a nice split on that one, Naomi.
Cool. The automotive world hasn't lost out by cancelling physical motoring shows this year.
I genuinely think it has. And I hate motor shows, but I genuinely think they are necessary things.
I get confused with negative questions.
I know there was a double negative in there.
Yeah,
That's so rude of me. Sorry.
So if you think it's missed out, then it's red. If you don't think it's missed out, it's green.
It missed out.
Bother.
Yeah.
Cars ultimately are tactile, and there's only so much you can tell from a photo on a screen.
The number of things
Unless you
I've
don't get
seen
to
recently
paint.
which look so much better in real life than they do in you know, the new Toyota Mirai, by the way, is one of those. Looks really odd in pictures, looks great in real life.
It's been nice to see them kind of have to do things to change this year. Even like Ian, brands have done some cool stuff with you, haven't they?
Oh yeah, I mean it's been interesting, and I've enjoyed the challenge of it. But I desperately miss shows like actually seeing people, and that thing I think is an absolute must.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. I agree. Okay, it's probably time for James Bond movies to be retired.
Oh, that's an interesting one.
Ooh.
Wash your mouth out with soap.
These are purposefully provocative. I can't claim to have any of these opinions.
I've said green because I do find them tedious, but actually I'm quite excited about the new Bond. So
we're never going to get to see it.
Do not take this. Do not take this away from me, Mir. It's the only thing keeping me going.
Reindeer antlers and red noses on cars are totally acceptable.
As long as you love your car, I'd rather people loved it and did what they like with it than just had a car that they just don't care about. So I think
I prefer it
if
to
you want to
eyelashes.
just, yeah.
Nice.
I don't know about eyelashes.
I bought that. I bought the E-Class from Chris Pollitt, and in the glove box was a Santa hat for the badge. It's not his, but it has followed the car over the last 4 owners. It turns out, is the Santa hat to go over the bonnet emblem, and I thought that was really cool. Although I would never do it to any other car, I thought that was cool.
Before we move on, sorry, quickly, LA, could you just turn and look behind you, directly behind you, please? Just have a look just directly behind you.
I disappear.
Oh no, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, Naomi, what was next?
Someone take a screenshot.
Oh dear.
I don't know what you're laughing at.
No, I was just checking how the green screen was working.
I don't know. Someone take a screenshot. What was I doing?
Oh my god.
Sorry, Naomi, I've ruined your flow there.
Lawrence Stroll will secure Aston Martin's long-term survival. By long term, I'm thinking into the 2030s.
The next 6 months with Aston. Yeah.
If you mean if by 2030 you mean 8:30, then maybe.
I've gone green because basically, as much as anybody, Aston Martin's survival has always gone from a few years to the next. It's
that's a very fair point.
There is no long-term survival of Aston Martin. I say that as a.
And I love them. They're great. They're wonderful machines. But yeah, the company's hopeless.
Has LA just got the gob job goat there? By any chance?
I wish.
Blimey.
Damien, what would your mother think?
We started this thing. It was so wholesome. There was no swearing
I know.
allowed. Oh my god, we're drinking, we're swearing, we're doing all sorts. Right. I think video apps such as YouTube and Netflix should be allowable on in-car screens.
In the back?
No, it's in Android Auto or whatever, watching Netflix while you drive.
That's a red all round, I think. Then Naomi.
I see they're releasing Microsoft Teams for
Microsoft Teams.
for CarPlay.
I
I
didn't
did
know that.
something like really naughty the other week, but it was really bizarre effect that it had on your brain. So I had my iPad and I was on a motorway and it was quite empty. So there was some kind of race on or qualify, I don't know, something was on. So I sort of just put it on my little, where your speedometer is. And just as I'm driving, because I glanced down at it, because the cars were like this on the track, I literally started doing the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. What's going on? And there was no way. I tried it again, thinking, what happened there? And I just couldn't not do this with the driver on the track. So it's something weird that happens in your brain that when you watch the TV, you wanting to be doing this, but definitely not on the motorway. So I was like, no, get rid of that.
LA, speaking as your lawyer, I think you might need to just say that was fictional.
Yeah, allegedly.
Cut that bit out, Damien.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Right.
On a simulator. It was on a simulator, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I think she was coming off better before with the other thing.
LA. He's very young.
Started it.
Right. The exit of Audi and BMW from Formula E and Volkswagen from motorsport in general signals the end of manufacturer works motorsport programs.
Okay, only Joe
Signals
has
that
gone
nobody's
green
got
on
any
that.
money at the moment.
Oh no,
so-
Hazel as well. Oh no, Hazel's changed her mind.
So
You're not
everyone's
sure,
gone red.
Hazel?
Interesting.
I think these things come in waves. I don't think there's any decisiveness to it.
I think you're right. Aston Martin will not resume its battery electric program within the next decade.
In 2024, they'll have something apparently.
Cool. George Russell will win the F1 championship before Charles Leclerc. That was really designed for Craig, who's not here. But I will text him and ask him.
Yeah, he said he might try and pop in, but I don't think he's had a chance to.
Very good. Very controversial one. I have changed my mind about the new BMW grille.
Wait, I need to Google that.
I think I've changed my mind.
Have you? Yeah.
I think I have.
Is this one of those better in the flesh than on photos? Well, it depends which way your mind has been changed, I guess.
Yeah.
Presumptive question.
I really liked it at first, controversially, because I thought it looked very like kind of like something you'd see in like a Charlie XCX video or something. Like it didn't look like kind of it looked like car design for Rihanna or something, you know?
Yeah.
Which I like. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was definitely like a different look. But I have actually seen one on a street, and it does look horrible.
I think spec will be very important with it. I think
it does.
You mean
seem really
spec or
colour
spec sabers?
It kind of just about works on the M3 almost, but on the iX and on the 4 Series, it's just
in
dark colours.
Yeah, I've seen it in grey and matte grey. I think it looks quite good. I hate to say.
Is that in dark colours at night with the lights off?
I think I only like it. I think I like it front on. Like it has to be almost 2-dimensional front on. But I think anything beyond that, I don't know if I like it.
See, and Near can shout at me for this if he wants, but I think this is it's symptomatic of designing on computer screen instead of designing in clay and designing on paper, because you just end up zooming in to look at details. And as a detail, if you zoom in on that grille and the lights and everything else, it looks great, it's brilliant, it's aggressive and cool. But it's only when you step back you realise what an absolute fucking horror it is. Giuseppe Giugiaro designing on a board with paper and pencil is not going to come up with that shape. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Near can now tell me why I'm wrong.
Right. I consider myself to be above average at parking.
So Neil, who we know doesn't really rate his driving at all, has gone red, and so is Alan on that one.
Very confident people. I have changed a headlight bulb in my own car. Sorry, Hannah, that sounds really patronizing. You're here.
One of the hardest things you can do, isn't it?
Isn't it
Nowadays,
fast,
I guess. I'll go to Hannah and just say, sort that out for me, Hannah.
Halfords can't seem to do it very well, but if you go to a reputable garage, they're pretty good.
My car shop even changed my windscreen wipers for me as well, but I just let them do it. Like, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
All the maintenance and costs of
I think we lost Naomi there for a few moments. If anyone else...
I'm sitting on the edge of my seat.
I know, yeah.
Quick, put the hamster back in the wheel.
This is so tense.
We've got you back now.
Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you now.
We got you now. We lost.
Did you hear the question?
No.
Oh, all the maintenance and cost of a rotary engine is totally worth it.
Yes.
No. Thankfully, mine was under warranty.
Okay, cool. And the last one, which I am genuinely interested in your opinion. A leather interior is still the main signifier of a luxury car.
No.
No, I don't think so anymore.
So is this our opinion of we think leather makes a luxury car, or that's what OEMs have decided? Is it our opinion?
I think it's opinion. Yeah.
Ooh.
Because I suppose we're all thinking Alcantara and all of these various recycled materials now. But is leather still king for a luxury car?
2 words: Toyota Crown.
Yes.
Have you seen Bentley are now offering tweed?
Really?
Yes,
Ooh.
genuinely.
And
There was a press
that
release.
Land Rover material they're using now on the seats is really nice. It's much nicer than leather.
Don't know.
It's a lot trickier as a girl because I don't know if the girls will agree, but in the summer when you've got your sunlight or your sunblock or something on a leather seat, it sometimes you just can't get it off. You just get white everywhere, and it's a nightmare.
I used to have that problem in my one of these, actually. You'd get sun cream on the door card and then it just couldn't get off.
One of the cars I bought had a handprint on the back of it, and I thought it would come off and like when I washed it, and it was from somebody putting hand cream on their hand and just touching the car as they walked around it, and it never ever came off.
Whoa.
It was so irritating.
But I hired a car once, so it was on my legs, you know, and you're in a short skirt or whatever. And I took it back to the car hire place. I was like, I've tried my best. I can't get this off. I'm so sorry. It's like, oh, sunblock stuck on this black leather seat.
That's the end of those, Damien.
Lovely. Thanks. That's quite a lot there, Naomi. You did quite well.
Sorry,
there.
I went a bit overboard.
Ah, no, it's fine. That's fine. It just leads us on to the theme of the month. So I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to think about this. Hazel, obviously, you were a bit of a last minute call up. So have you had a chance, Hazel? Did I tell you what the theme of the month was?
I'm totally
No? Okay.
unspoiled.
No, don't worry then. Don't worry. We'll start. We'll go around the screen and ask people what they think the most desirable hot hatch ever is. And maybe at the end, Hazel, if you've got an opinion, let us know. But don't worry if not, because I know it was a last minute thing. I'm going to start with Joe on this one. Joe, what do you think? Because it's going to be quite good to get in early here, because you might take ones that people are hoping aren't going to come up. And Joe, I think if you get in first, hopefully you've got a nice free run with the one you want.
I've actually not driven many hot hatches. I had a mini Cooper S John Cooper Works, which I did quite enjoy, but I've not driven many others. So I'm going to have to go with the almighty Peugeot 306 D Turbo with the screw bod. And some people will know what I mean, and some people won't. But that was well known for being massive power that you just couldn't handle. It was just quite amazing. Probably a bit of an joke, so apologies. I wasn't expecting to go first.
Oh, right. Oh, it's definitely a choice that I don't think other people would have come up with. So do you want to just explain what you mean by the was it screw
there was
bodies?
a little screw somewhere in the engine that just increased the fuel delivery into the engine, and it might have given you maybe 5 or 10 horsepower or something, but it just had this reputation on the internet for giving huge amounts of power and became a bit of a joke.
Oh, okay, very good. It might not be the only Peugeot we hear about, but we'll go to Simon next. Simon, what do you think?
Well, I've made a big boo-boo, and I've had to go back through our group chat earlier to rectify this. I've misread the question. So you said desirable hot hatch. I thought you said best. You did say desirable. You are 100% right. I'm the moron. So what I've gone for is the best hot hatch, which I think.
I've said best at other points as well. So if you've heard best, that will have probably been me that said it. So although the original one was desirable, I've probably chucked out the word best a few times. So happy for you to answer what the best is.
Right, okay. Well, the best, I think, Genesis. Let's go back to the first one. And I'm going to be shouted down a lot by this one. So bear with. No swearing, particular Nia and Alan. So first hot hatch, I think, Tatra. Here we go. 1936, Tatra T87. That's what it's called, right? 1936. So that is, because it's got 3 headlights. You can't see it very well, because if I do that, you can probably see it a bit better. And if I show you the back, there is the hatched back. The hatched back. There is a luggage space in there, enough to fit a coin. So it counts. Definitely counts. Rear engine, 3-litre V8, 4 doors, and the front doors are suicide, so they open the other way. That is the best hot hatch. Find me another V8 rear engine hot hatch you could buy in the last 30 years. You won't. That's the winner. See you later. I'll see you later. That's the end.
So the best one for sure, but maybe not the most desirable.
No,
No.
don't buy it. No, awful.
Okay. Let's go to Hannah next.
So yeah, I've gone for the Clio V6.
Another mid-engine one. So,
Mid-engine,
engines in the
rear-wheel
back.
drive, V6 though. So yeah, not a V8, but just a mad hot hatch. Nothing else I don't think's been produced since that's just as mental as that. Keep their value, if not more. Very desirable, not many made. Yeah, and Renault make the best hot hatches, in my opinion. They do make some really good hot hatches. So yeah, the V6 Clio.
V6 Clio, the chief of all the Renault hot hatches. Have you had a chance to have a go in one?
Briefly, but not in anger, but just to kind of move it around and things like that. But yeah, I mean, their prices are just absolutely kind of, going through the roof. I think they've plateaued a little bit probably in the last year or so, but they will soon be, huge money.
Okay, excellent choice. Near, let's have your choice.
Well, I had a reflex thought on this, and then put a lot of thought into it, thinking, okay, my first thought can't be the right one, and ended up coming back to it. The one I'm going to put aside is the one that I went with is the Delta Integrale. In pure sense, I was looking at the word desire, not necessarily the best one ever, but you put the keys on the table, which is the one that I want to take home, which is the one that I want to own. And I couldn't top the Integrale, but I've never driven one, so maybe I'm completely wrong about that. Maybe the fact that I haven't driven one is one of the things that's making it desirable. It's that thing that you want. Of the ones I've driven, the one I had the most fun in was definitely a 205.
Yep. So presumably GTI, not XSI or anything like that, just a proper GTI, 1.6, 1.9.
Are you asking me which one I drove? I'm not even sure. It had been rally prepped. I assume it was a 1.9, but it might not have been.
Okay, yes, another Peugeot. Actually,
but it's the Integrale. My vote is for the Integrale.
Vote for the Integrale, of course. Yep. Alan.
I read desirable when I was doing this, and there's only one hatchback where I have got out of it and gone, that's amazing, that's fantastic, I really, really want to find out more about this. And it was the Golf GTI TCR with the Akrapovic exhaust that was on the Volkswagen press fleet last year. And I got it out onto the A34, which is a road I know well, and I went up through the gears in the DSG box, and I was in hoots of laughter. It was only when I found out that as spec it was 42 grand that sort of slightly dampened my enthusiasm quite a lot. But that's the hot hatch I have most gone, yeah, that's great, that's amazing. It's not the one I would buy, but it's amazing. Really.
Excellent. So of all the Golf GTIs that there have been over the many years, it was this one that
one to me is the ultimate GTI. After that, you're into the Golf R, and that's not really desirable, is it? Because everybody bought them on cheap finance, and they're generally being a pain in the road. And it's the TCR was a special limited build. You could get it with silly stickers down the side. It suits me fine.
You do like a silly sticker.
I love silly stickers.
Yeah. Okay, Naomi, how about you?
I don't know if mine counts, but I don't have a huge amount of experience personally with hot hatches, and any sort of even close to hot hatch you could get in Ireland, or my friends could get in Ireland, was usually falling apart. So I would only have great experience on it. But the car I thought about, because it's a car I still think about ever since I drove it, was the very first press car I ever got, and I was spoiled rotten with it, and it was the 2016 Leon Cupra, which was just a bananas car for someone like me, who, and what I liked about it is I think a hot hatch probably needs to be more analog, probably manual, and you get more. This was the opposite, but I just absolutely loved it. It was the first car I'd driven where I genuinely felt like it was more speed than I could handle, It had a really good sound, which I think was artificial. Didn't care. It looked amazing. I had the most fun ever driving that around County Clare, which has some of the most beautiful roads ever. And I still think about it at least once a week since I drove it. But it's very expensive. I don't know if I would ever actually buy one, but I found it very desirable in that sort of launch pale blue-gray color that it came in, which is just stunning.
Excellent. Say it in the mix. Let's go to Ian next.
Well, I was going to go for the V6 Clio because I visited a client once, and out of all the cars he had in the garage, that was the one I was like, oh my God, and I literally took loads of photos of it. However, I'd go for the granddaddy of it. I'd go for the 5 turbo.
Oh, yes.
Mainly because at Briscoe Heritage for Petrolicious, they had that blue on there, which I then did a painting of. And that was right next to a RS200, Audi Quattro Sport. And it just stood out. It just was absolutely beautiful. And that was like the chosen angle I did with a proper vented rear and squat of that car. If it wasn't that, obviously it would have to be a Chevette HSR because gotta fly the flag for the Chevette. If mine wasn't the saloon, which it is, I'd have a Chevette replica HSR because that looks just the beans really. So
very cool. Yeah, the Chevette HSR. Excellent. Richard,
mine looks like that really. That's fine, really.
Yeah. Okay. Are you going to paint it up though to look a bit sporty, or are you going to keep it proper sleeper?
Brown.
Fair enough. Okay, Richard.
I'm one too late because I would have gone 5 turbo as well.
Look at that. Okay, it's. I thought they were bigger in real life, but never mind.
So maybe I'll go the whole cliche and go Mark 1 Golf GTI. Small bumpers, steel wheels, in a barn somewhere, or failing that, which this doesn't really count, a Rally Polo, which I can't buy anyway. But yeah, on looks alone, I would have gone 5 turbo. I've never driven one, but it's a car that I've always liked, just because it's so out there.
See, I thought you were definitely a slam dunk for a Volkswagen, but the Renault's kind of it's more desirable.
It was just mad, as Hannah said, they took the same formula again later on, and no one else has ever done it or done it since, certainly. So
very good. LA, have you had a chance to think of one? I know you weren't too sure what the theme was going to be for this month.
Yeah, I just couldn't find the message again. Well, yeah, based on previous Zoom meetings and my own personal experience, I'm going for the 106. And even if you didn't know my car, there's sort of talk about the GTI from 1996, which sort of took over a little bit from the 205s. And the sort of the descriptions you find are tiny and pert. So I can't. Yeah, that's how I felt in mine. But it was like 120 miles per hour basically, and these little tiny hairdryer cars were so fast.
Yeah.
It was only sort of a few years. Mine was 98. There was only a few years of that particular model that just seemed unbelievably quick. One of the most terrifying but awesome aspects of this car was that the brakes were absolutely garbage, and you put your foot to the floor to emergency brake and basically nothing happened, but it added to the excitement of it and the fear of it, and and the basically driving this car like a racing car, because they were so light that I never took it on a racing track, but I had lived in Devon for quite a few years on them single track B roads, and even in the worst weather you can imagine, with mud and slurridge all over the roads, this car just held it completely. And the other thing is, I discovered 2 times that you could never flip it. I climbed a bank a few times at speed. For some reason, it just never flipped, which is quite good. So yeah, I'm just seeing if I can find any. Apparently as well, the Peugeot name, it's been going for 210 years. It's their anniversary this year. Like, wow, you think? But they started off not making cars. That sort of happened in 1882. But that name's been going for a long time as well within the industry. And just a great, amazing car that I just look back on all my cars I've ever had, even hire cars and whatever. And that just brings the biggest smile to my face.
Yeah, and I think that kind of taps into what makes a car desirable. If it's the one that kind of puts a smile on your face, and it's the one that you go back to immediately when you think about, oh yeah, that's the one that I'd really want. Hazel, have you had a chance to have a think about what any that come to mind for you?
So I have, and this is probably going to be like semi-controversial, but I was like, okay, I'm going to have a think and come up with something that I'm fairly confident other people aren't going to say because I'm going last. I'm going to say the Lada Samara S Proto.
Nice.
Which obviously people are probably a little bit surprised that I've said a Lada. I'm very nostalgic about Ladas. Yeah, it's just a powerful, nasty Lada. Like, it has all of the features for a hot hatch, which is that it's a little bit overpowered. It doesn't maybe have like as many of the control features as it ought to have for what it can do. The brakes are just abominable. And you cannot get hold of them for love or money because they were so desirable and people really loved them. One of them did the car. They're really powerful little cars, and they're really good fun. So yeah,
good one. Yeah, like I said, if there's desire out there, then they become rare and they can become expensive, and so a lot of these desirable cars you can't find. Anybody want to put a shout out to one that they perhaps thought would come up and hasn't come up, or anything like that they thought, oh, we're missing a trick here? No, we've got some blank faces.
Any sort of Escort.
Yeah, Cozzies or RSs or anything like that. So not necessarily.
I think it's quite interesting the nations that we've mentioned so far. We've had Renault, Peugeot 106 GTI is a fantastic show, by the way. I've had two of those, amazing. We've had Peugeot, General Motors, Britain, Tatra, Czechoslovakia, and Russia. Two countries we didn't think we'd find in the most desirable hot hatch locations. So there you go, Russia, Czechoslovakia, bywords for quality and hot hatchery.
Maybe that's what we want from a hatch, is that fear factor that you might just die. Sorry, Alan.
I'm just sad nobody mentioned the
Maestro
Turbo.
Maestro Turbo. All right.
I'm not saying it.
You're not saying it. No,
I'm not saying it.
I've run out of drinks, so I can't have a drink if you said it anyway. So.
Is that kept bursting into flames, and you see people with their cars on fire by the motorway? Are they not Maestros?
Maestros?
Yeah.
No, they're McLarens.
No.
Yeah.
Possibly a Ferrari or a Lamborghini.
Yeah, years ago, you'd see Maestros like by the side of the motorway in flames.
Probably is the answer.
I remember seeing lots of Renault 19s in flames in the early to mid 90s for various electrical based reasons. Hannah, you probably worked on a billion late 90s Renaults with similar flaws, I'd assume.
Any French car's got electrical flaws normally, so it's
yes,
it's across the board.
That's what I wanted to say, but I wasn't brave enough.
I had a Citroen Berlingo van for a while, and it was really funny because there'd always be one thing wrong with it, but you didn't know which thing it was going to be that journey. So it was always something electrical. And sometimes you'd go in and go, right, what's not going to work? And it would be the windows wouldn't demist. And then they would start working, so the radio would go off. And you go, okay. And then a radio would come on to go, what's not working now? And then you realise, oh, it's the reversing sensors. They're now not working. And there's always one thing. It was never more than one. But that was just a nice quirk of owning a Citroen, I think. But yeah, I think the reputation from the 90s is hard to shake off, but hopefully they're getting there, especially if we're all going to be making electric cars. hopefully the reputation of these I'm very conscious that there's a lady there who who drives a French electric car. Naomi. I guess you've had no problems with it yet. No.
Not any I'd speak of yet.
Not any you'd speak of. Okay.
Publicly,
well,
I am 100% advocate for EVs in general. So
okay. We'll leave that there. Before we go, though, obviously a massive thank you to you all for coming. Hazel for coming on quite late notice as our special guest. Hopefully you've had fun here. And thanks for doing the track day own scrap and for bringing your own hot hatch. And what we'd normally do at this point is turn to Craig for some F1 facts. But I believe the proxy for Craig is LA this time. LA, have you got some F1 facts for us?
Yeah, just a little bit really from the weekend, if you were watching or not watching. So Sergio Perez won the Sakir Grand Prix.
Spoilers. Oh.
And he holds the record for the longest wait for a Grand Prix win, which is 190 starts before his first win. And he's only led 2 laps in 6 years of F1, and he started up the field on lap 1 but ended up right at the back after an accident. So he was in P18 on lap 1, and he beat everybody and won that race fairly and squarely, which was an amazing feat. Also his teammate Lance Stroll was 3rd, so on the podium with him. And that's the first time that two car, Racing Point and their history have been on the podium since a 1-2, which was Jordan in 1998 at the Belgian Grand Prix. I think, yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he's got this really great record, and Racing Point have got on the podium in what, 1998? How many years is that? 22 years?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so there you go. Big fireworks.
Big fireworks.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, LA. Thanks ever so much. And yeah, thanks ever so much for everyone for coming along. The next one, we'd normally do these monthly, but there's a bit of appetite for a Christmas special, though there is a Monday, obviously between Christmas and New Year. So the 28th of December, we'll do a special Zoomer. So I'd encourage anyone who watches along to tune into that one as well. We'll let you all know about it nearer the time. I'm not sure who the guest is going to be yet, but I hope we can see a lot of you back for that, and I would encourage you to dress appropriately for a Christmas special. So hopefully we'll see you on the 28th of December for the next ZoomZoomers. Naomi's getting ready. But for now, from all of us here, thanks ever so much for tuning in. If you're watching along on YouTube, of course, but if you're watching live or watching back, there is a subscribe button at the bottom. I'd really appreciate it if you give that a tickle, and hopefully we'll see you in the future. But for now, from all of us, thanks ever so much, and see you on the 28th of December. Thank you.